Yo, what's up, guys? Happy Monday. We got Monday Night Football. Not a ton of NBA today, but hey, we got what is expected to be a very boring NFL game. You can see the Jaguars are huge favorites, minus 500, 5-1 betting favorites. So hopefully the Bengals can keep this game exciting. But anyways, let's look for some bets. So in these videos, these live streams, I try to focus on the main books, PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, and also Fliff. So Fliff is a sports book right here, this logo that is available. It's legal in basically every state. That's a great thing about Fliff. It's just legal in a bunch of locations, and there's a lot of good bets on Fliff as well. So maybe we'll start out on Fliff, and then we can go to PrizePicks. So the way that this tool works, you can see right here, the OddsJam positive EV tool, is all it's doing is pretty simple. I mean, whatever books you use, there's hundreds of sports books out there, hundreds of sports books, literally 215 sports books that you could be betting on. All these books won't be legal in your location, but you can see like the best bet currently available is actually on FanDuel, the highest profit margin play, and it's a soccer play, right? Like sometimes the value is in these more niche markets. You can see Europa League, you got some team total over plus 140 on FanDuel. DraftKings has this plus 100, and then Pinnacle right here, which is known to be the sharpest book out there, they have this all the way down at plus 108. But anyways, let's focus on Fliff, kind of the books legal in the main states to start out with. So the first play we have is Al Horford over 10.5 points. So if you take a look, you can see here, it's also available on ESPN Bet. ESPN recently launched a sports book, but you can see, as a sports bettor, you have tons of different books. And all of these books, even if you don't use DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, they're still data points, right? They're still books with sophisticated models. They're taking action, moving lines around based on where action's coming in. And you can see Pinnacle, known to be the sharpest book. All these books have Horford as a pretty big favorite to go over 10.5 points. So sometimes it's, lineup changes. Like if you go here, a lot of times you'll see lines really start to move based on, injuries, lineup changes, stuff like that. Like who's playing, who's not playing. This is a market, lines are always moving around. So you can see Al Horford, all the other books have kind of moved him to being a pretty big favorite to go over 10.5 points. Fliff is still, they're the only book with the under favored. All these other books have him heavily favored to go over 10.5 points. Fliff has his under favored, minus 135 juice towards the under. So you can see, just like thinking about it, getting minus 115 looks like really good value. So this is the first play we'll go with, is Al Horford over 10.5 points. And again, really the way I think about my sports betting is like being an investor, right? Not every bet's going to win, but place a bunch of bets that have an edge, a mathematical edge, and we'll win, long term. Pretty simple, just following the data. I obviously follow a very data-driven approach. So some of the best advice I got when I started sports betting was treat your bets like the price of a stock, right? So we can buy this stock at $115. DraftKings, $10 billion company. They got a pretty damn good model. They're taking bets, moving around their lines based on where action's coming in. They're saying, hey, this is worth 135. The stock's worth 135 bucks. FanDuel saying it's worth 148. Caesars 145. But you kind of look throughout the market and it becomes pretty clear. We have all these different data points that getting minus 115 on Fliff is an absolute no-brainer. So that can be the first bet we lock in. We'll go over to Underdog Fantasy in a sec. But we might as well, while we're on Fliff, we might as well lock in some plays for the NBA games. So then we got to play for the later game. Sometimes the value's in more niche markets. Like you can see on Underdog Fantasy, we had some esports plays. I don't really give a shit what I'm betting on if the plays have an edge. I follow a very data-driven approach. 99% of sports bettors place bets with their gut and they lose money. They watch sports and then they bet on sports and they lose money. Right? So following the data, very simple, taking your gut out of sports betting, your emotions. That's how you're going to make money sports betting. So anyways, the next play we have is Valanciunas over 24.5 PRAs, minus 120 odds. So just like an investor, a day trader, everything is so price conscious, right? Traders are always thinking about price. It's the same thing when you're sports betting. You got to be thinking about the value you're getting on all your plays. So if you look at Valanciunas, it's like all these other books, Pinnacle, Bovada, Bet Online, DraftKings, they've all ripped Valanciunas to being he's a minus 164 favorite to go over on Bet Online, which is known to be a pretty sharp book. Fliff, once again, they have the under favored. All the other books have the over favored. This is just a no-brainer play to go with. Out of the tens of thousands of lines available on Fliff, there's all this different crap we can bet, all these different player props. We just want to zone in, on the few plays that actually have an edge. And obviously, if you don't like Valanciunas going over, you can skip it over. But I follow a very data-driven approach. And you can also see this as an arbitrage bet. So if you actually go here, and what we can do is, you can see here, this doesn't really make any sense. The over's at minus 120 on Fliff. The under's at plus 126. There's no juice in this market. This is actually an arbitrage play. So arbitrage, again, if you're not familiar with this concept, for anyone new, arbitrage is when two books, get so out of sync. All these books set their own odds, right? Fliff has its own model. They're taking bets. They set their own odds. Same thing with Bet Online. And you can see they have absolutely ripped odds towards Valanciunas going over. So now the market has such a big discrepancy that you can bet the over on Fliff, the under on Bet Online, and make a risk-free profit. That's called arbitrage. Risk-free money. It sounds crazy, sounds too good to be true. Some days there's better arbitrage plays than others. But if you wanted to, you could arbitrage bet this. If you use Fliff, you can make a risk-free profit of $5, which doesn't seem crazy. It's only $5. But again, all you got to do is place the bet. It takes 20 seconds to do. You just kind of pull up an arbitrage calculator, and due to this huge market discrepancy, if he goes over, and again, the max bet size on Fliff is 250. So you'll see everything I bet on Fliff. If you just hit the max button, it comes up as 250. So that's the maximum we're allowed to bet anyways. Let's go back here and let's see if there's any other plays on Fliff before we head over to PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy. So there is another play on Jason Tatum, but pretty low profit margin. This is your edge or your profit margin. So 1.85%. On Horford, that's the top play. That is the best play with value, kind of looking at the other books in the market and where they have their line set. And again, the market's always moving, just like the price of a stock. Some company, they release a new product and they're making more money. You'll see the stock price go up. All information is reflected in the market, injuries, lineup changes, everything is reflected in the market. Sportsbook odds, some books like Pinnacle, Bet Online, they're known to be a little sharper, a little smarter than other books. They're legal more places, whatever. But again, you can kind of look throughout the market and it becomes pretty clear. Minus 115 is a good play. We're just using data to our advantage. But anyways, let's go over to Underdog. And let's see what's available on Underdog Fantasy. So let's pull up Underdog. And you can see the first play that OddsJam is recommending on Underdog Fantasy is Halliburton, who's been an assist machine, but is taking him under 10.5 assists. So let's just go here and let's go to Underdog. So the first play we want is Halliburton under 10.5 assists. And the way that Underdog Fantasy works, is the way that Underdog Fantasy works, right, is they give you the same payout. You take the over, you take the under, and you can see they've limited me to $20. Earlier in the season, I was able to bet, $500. Kind of sucks, but it's just being a part of a profitable bettor. Some books will cut down your bet sizes. This is just one of the things that sucks about sports betting. But anyways, Underdog, they'll give us the same payout if we take Halliburton's over or his under. So why do we want to take the under? Well, again, just following the data points in the market, all these books have Halliburton heavily favored to go under 10.5 assists. So it's okay, that seems like a good play to go with. And what else is available? So we have Ridley under 4.5 receptions. So let's take a look at this. And then we also have Derek White under 9.5 rebounds and assists. You can see most of the other books have the line at 8.5. So let's just lock this in quickly before the line moves. And again, it's not that I don't really like this play. I'd like to bet more on it, but they're only giving me a max of $20. Underdog Fantasy, they give you a 6x payout, so 20 to win 120. 4 3-pick entries, and all these plays seem good to go with. So let's just lock it in, but shit, the line already moved. So the line already moved on us, so it's like, okay, like that kind of sucks, but just what it is. And we want to ideally find 3 picks on Underdog Fantasy. That's the optimal slip type. And you can see there's just, it's a slow day. There's not a ton of NBA today. There's not a ton of, obviously there's only one NFL game today. So if you use more sports books, again, there's going to be more bets available. You never know which book is going to slip up on a given day, which is why I always recommend, like, kind of using as many sports books as possible. Like ParlayPlay, for example, is another platform. It works just like Underdog Fantasy, a lot of similarities, fixed payouts, all that stuff. It's another sports book that has an $100 deposit match. You put in 100, you get 100 for free. And again, like sometimes there's more opportunity on ParlayPlay compared to PrizePicks, Underdog. So anyways, let's go back here and let's see what else is available. Is there even going to be enough value to place an underdog slip? So you can see, like, honestly, not really right now. Like Derek White, I mean, this play looks incredibly good, though. Derek White under 9.5 rebounds plus assists. So what we can do is we can kind of just take a look real quick. So we have Derek White, all the other books kind of have his line around 8.5. Like all the sports books have his line at 8.5. PrizePicks, it doesn't look like they even have a lineup on Derek White yet. But all these books have his line at 8.5. And again, like if you just go here to FanDuel and we take a look at the Celtics game, what's nice about FanDuel is they have these alternate categories. So if we go here and we go to player combos, which is rebounds plus assists, you can see if we look up Derek White, they have this alternate rebound plus assist category. So you can see his under 8.5 is plus 102. But his under 9.5 is minus 160, right? Obviously, they're different bets. The under 9.5 is more likely than the under 8.5. So the under 9.5 is a pretty big favorite, right? And again, like Underdog Fantasy, you get the same payout if you take an over or an under. So we want to take the under because that's heavily favored according to the market data points, right? And everything's baked into the market, lineups, matchups, all that sort of stuff. So anyways, what we can do too is just increase our max odds a bit, see if there's any other plays. But here's a play on Sabonis, over 36.5 PRAs. So this play looks good too. I mean, seems like there's some decent value on Fliff today. So we can go over here and we can lock this in, and this will be our third bet. And then hopefully we can find a pair on Underdog Fantasy before the line moves. So that will be the third play of the live stream. And, hopefully we can find some plays on Underdog Fantasy. But just not a ton of value right now in general in the market. I mean, you can see PrizePicks too. Let's check out PrizePicks. Yeah, just not a ton of crap available. Slow day, not as many games. I mean, I'm sure there will be some good plays on Underdog Fantasy, but maybe for a sec, let's go to ParlayPlay as well. And we can take a look at ParlayPlay. So ParlayPlay is, another site that kind of works like PrizePicks, Underdog. There's not a ton of stuff. You can see like Joe Mixon under 50.5 rushing yards. It looks like all the other books kind of have his line around 47.5 with the under favored, 46.5. So a little bit of value on ParlayPlay on the under there, but not a ton of stuff available right now. Here you can see the play on Calvin Ridley on Underdog. So again, I wouldn't recommend playing this as a 2-pick, but both of these picks look solid, and we just kind of need a third pair to go with. All the books have Ridley as a pretty big favorite to go under 4.5 receptions. So that would be the play that we would want to lock in on Underdog. But anyways, there's not a ton of value, so I won't keep this live stream long. I'll try to do some more live streams, kind of as the day goes on. We got 1 bet, 2 bet, 3 bets, 3 overs for the NBA slate tonight. And thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be back on live later when hopefully there's some more plays available on PrizePicks and Underdog.